Hello, good afternoon at Black Nights Film Festival. I'm Edvinas, one of programmers here, and we continue our conversations with filmmakers from our first feature competition.
Yes.
Melik Kuru came from Istanbul,
Hello,
from Turkey, and he brought his first feature
Yeah.
film, debut film, Dump of Untitled Pieces. And believe me or not, but I'm watching 40, 50 Turkish films every year.
Yeah.
And biggest challenge, I think, to find a comedy among all Turkish films.
Very right.
And I really had hard laughs when I saw a
You told me
film
that when you watched
for the first time. So what inspired you as a Turkish filmmaker, debutant, to make a funny film? Actually?
Yes. I mean, I think you started from a very important place because that was kind of the inspiration. So you said that it's very difficult to find a humorous film in Turkish cinema, and I'm on the same page with you about that. Although like there are many like great directors who like kind of like established directors in the art house cinema in Turkish films that are doing great films, it is very difficult to find a comedy per se. And I love good comedies. First of all, I mean, apart from being a filmmaker, I'm an audience, and I love to watch funny films. So I think artistically, as a filmmaker and also audience, the first inspiration was, this is gonna be a funny like comedy, not like ha comedy maybe, but like it needs to be humorous, because I find this kind of gap between, I mean, maybe some of the audience of this video knows Turkish people or Turkey, the country. We are funny people, like we are humorous people. So I was kind of troubled with the gap that I see the life outside on the streets and the life on the screen, and it didn't match. It doesn't match, to be honest. So I said, okay, this is going to be a funny film. And also, it is another difficulty was to find like stories about young people, and so there were like a couple of rules that I set when I started to actually develop the story, which is, this is going to be a funny story, a comedy, and this is going to be about young people. So that was the main inspiration, because I mean, the reason I wanted to make this film is all the struggles I had as a young person, as a young filmmaker, first timer, trying to make a movie. So it needed to be honest and direct, and I hope the film achieves that.
And I must confess that it's Turkish film which is not really Turkish. but
Yeah.
also you as a director, you use different types of comedy in this film.
Yeah.
It's satire, it's slapstick,
Yes.
and it's even romantic comedy.
Yes.
And when it's rebellious comedy.
Yes, different tones and different types of comedy kind of like blends in with the story that these two people kind of like having in the film. And it was a challenge because honestly, I didn't do a comedy before. So I studied filmmaking in the US, and I made short films in the US, mostly in the US. And they were not comedies. It was a challenge and also a big risk, but I think it paid off. And it paid off in terms of not only like I'm like happy with the outcome, but I enjoyed the process as well. Like especially in the first features, it's a very long process. Like like finding all the stages of the film, not like the pre-production, production, and post-production. And I think you spend a lot of time with the film while making it. So I think it's good. This time it felt good that I never like got bored with what I'm watching. Like it was the film itself was kind of like entertaining me. It was the kind of film that I wanted to see on the screen. So.
And you make fun of this so-called higher culture.
Yes.
Art galleries
Yes.
where probably only smarter people go.
Yes.
Or why you chose to mock that side of art.
It was so. I mean, that is not an invented thing. I think also in the last 10, 20 years, we see a lot of like satires about arts, like art culture, I would say, entertainment culture. But I thought, so the film is about, that was also the challenge of pitching the story to people and also presenting it to people, because yes, this is a film that takes place in the art world, and we'll see a lot of art people. But I always thought that the film is about a young person who's trying to be an artist in the art world. I think there's a kind of like difference there. So the whole film is actually from a perspective of a young person, of a young woman who's trying to break in to the art world. So it's a very conflictual kind of like situation, because there's a young person who is basically nothing, no name, and there's this high culture. And I always feel like the comedy comes from this kind of like tensions, and it creates the satire. But personally, answering your like question, it's just like Aslı, the protagonist of the film. I don't feel comfortable as an artist in those kind of like, I don't want to say pretentious, but it gets pretentious. I mean, you're in the business as well. There are moments that you feel that you are in a pretentious world, that actually kind of like mesmerized by the surface, but when you try to find something deep inside, sometimes you can't find it. Basically, it happens. So I think that was like the reason I wanted to. From the young person's, an idealistic person's perspective, this is somewhere to attack in the story. But there's a but. I mean, you also wrote in your piece as well that I appear in the film. So I mean, it's easy to criticize something, but I think to be honest, in a film, I realized that first I need to mock myself, because then it kind of like sets the mood for everybody, you know, like, because it's very easy to get offended if an art person or like film industry person, a film festival person will watch this and would get offended. But I know, like, I relax, like I'm mocking myself, I'm making fun of myself as well. Like everybody, we can make fun of everything, like, because that's the kind of golden rule of comedy, right? Nothing is sacred. So I think that was an important point, not to basically just find one enemy, but like everything is kind of like can get your like object of fun kind of thing.
So Melik, I was saving this question for last, but now we have to continue this way. You directed me as well, but you have two cameos.
Yes.
Is it intentional or
definitely intentional?
Intentional. You wrote them for yourself.
Yes, they were all scripted, and they were all intentional, and they have nuances, you know, like in the way that it. So the first one, I mean, I don't want to spoil it a lot, but like the first one doesn't feel like we are breaking any wall or anything, but the second one is basically a direct one, and it was a new experience for me. I never acted, although like in the film school I acted for a lot of friends of mine. But like to be in front of camera is a different challenge, and also direct the film. Meanwhile, but I mean I can't judge myself. To be honest, it's difficult to judge your acting. But apart from the, like when I listen to people, it sounds like it kind of worked, like the acting and such. But yeah, they were all scripted. But there's another but. I mean, of course, we had changes, especially with Manolya, the lead. Like when we were acting together, she became the director in terms of like, what if you say something like this, and what if you say something like that. So we, of course, like we improvised a couple of stuff, but I mean, structurally, it was all scripted.
And Melik, it's not only debut for you, but Manolya Maya, you mentioned.
Yes.
You gave her main performance.
Yes.
She brings us fresh face.
Yes.
She is charismatic. She is gorgeous, and she is extremely talented. But she never acted. Is she an actress?
This is actually this is the second time she acted. When I casted her, when we started working on this, I was not back then I didn't watch her first feature. It was a strange. So to summarize it, this is also an intentional thing. I was looking. So this is a story about a no-name, just like anybody, like in her or his 20s, trying to find his place in the industry. And I thought a lot of people, especially in Turkey right now, because of the economical situation and the economical depression, I will say, all the artists, it doesn't matter if she's a painter, a musician, like dancer, they have kind of like same problems, which is the economical problems, how I'm going to pay the rent, how I'm going to survive, how I'm going to pay the bills, and meanwhile trying to like make a career in the art industry. And I thought, so we can actually, it doesn't have to show, so Aslı doesn't need to be cast with an actress. It can be anybody who can act in front of camera, because it won't take a lot of effort on my end to actually try to make her understand the story, because she's gonna know the story. Everybody's living that story. So it started with that, like, okay, maybe I can actually use a non-actor. And how it happened is, I was telling this idea of mine to use a non-actor in the film as the lead to my director of photography. He's also here in Tallinn, and he's going to attend the screening tonight, to Barış. And he said, you know what, there's this person, actually. And they worked together as Manolya was an assistant director, and he was the DP in a different feature film. And I know this woman, and she started acting. She appeared in a feature film. Would you consider her? And I looked her images, like photos, and I was looking with someone with big eyes, because you watch the film. Aslı is a character that doesn't speak when she doesn't need to. So I needed someone who is gonna act with her eyes in some scenes, like basically throughout the whole film. Acting with eyes, not speaking. She doesn't speak a lot. So I was like, yeah, this may work. And we auditioned with, I don't know, 10, 12 people. Some of them were actors, some of them were not actors. And the moment she auditioned, me and my casting director, Ezgi, we were like, this is gonna work. She has this kind of natural energy that basically camera loves her. This is not something you can make it work. There are some people that actually are born to be in front of camera, and I think she's one of those people. And we didn't have any difficulties of her being a non-actor. She's not a trained actor, and she has this kind of natural talent. I mean, as you said, she's an assistant director, and on my end as a director, it's because also this is a very difficult production. It's the first feature. We never have money. It was such an easy thing for me to actually direct her in like outside the camera, like behind the camera, because she knows how a set works. She knows what I need from an actor in terms of like organizing and like being ready and such. She knows how like acting in front of camera, because she worked on sets. So it was very easy, to be honest.
And she is very brave, because there are not so many Turkish films where actress is audacious enough to act in very intimate scenes, even erotical scenes, which you have. But we can, I think audience will ask her by themselves about this, but you already, to finish our conversations, this is very important. You already mentioned this is totally independent film.
Yes.
You did not get any public funding. from your own pocket.
Yeah.
And it's also a debut film for your both producers, Hilal and Ferhiye.
Yes, it's a first feature for a lot of people in the creative creative side as well, creative crew as well, and the producers. And I'm very happy you mentioned this, because it basically comes back to our first question, which is like making a comedy in Turkey. So the reason I actually how Dump of Untitled Pieces came to life is it wouldn't come to life without me failing trying to make another film. I was actually 5 years ago was developing a film. It was not a comedy, and it didn't. I mean, because I love a lot of reasons. So it was impossible to get a state funding for that project, and I was at the lowest point in my life. I think in 2022, realized that is not going to happen, and I need to make another film from the start. And I was in a place that, you know what? I mean, in the end, all you need to do is just to make the film itself. Because as the filmmakers, we sometimes get caught up in this development hell, where getting into those like development events and markets kind of like gets in front of the making the film itself, basically getting in front of the film. It gets more important somehow. We get too caught up by those badges. Oh, this project has this kind of badge, this development badge, and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want that. I just needed to be in the set trying to make the film. So that's why, so we didn't have any money when I said, okay, we're going to do this, but how? So we started shooting this film in May 23. We shot for 4 days. It's a very guerrilla style, like 15 to 18 people, and exteriors, only exteriors, during the elections, just a week before the presidential elections. And then with that material, we started to look for money. And in 1 year, we were on set to actually shoot the whole film, basically like 90% of the film. It was a difficult process. It was like, there were a lot of moments of anxiety, like, are we gonna, because also there's a shot material, so you cannot wait too long, you know, like the actors are gonna somehow change. And also like keeping that energy, not letting it go. Like we need to finish this as soon as possible. And also like the weather has to match. You cannot shoot any time in the year. So it needed to be spring again. So we were lucky actually that people believed in us. And like, I'm not speaking about like finding the money and producers and such, but also like the creative crew. There like a lot of people wanted to be in because they liked the story and they believed that they knew that this film will not going to come to life with the institutional funding. They were not going to give, not only, by the way, domestic, like Turkish funding I'm speaking, like international too, because also like, you know, the film kind of like hints to that as well, in particular scene where with the galleries they're talking like, and what kind of like the world industry expects kind of movies from Turkish films. So it was on both ends, it was very difficult to find kind of like financial support to this film. But it was difficult, but it came to life with a lot of sweat and tears and bones and such.
Melik, thank you very much. It's
so
very
much.
awesome to listen to you. We are over time already, and you mentioned me that this is your first interview in English.
Yes,
but
yes.
it looks like what you gave many interviews before. But briefly tell us, do you use ChatGPT in your real life or not?
Honestly, during the post-production, there were a lot of like complicated issues. It saved my life. Before post-production, I were not using it, but it's such a helper and personal assistant sometimes that it saved my life in a couple of times. I have to admit that, I'm gonna be honest.
This was a Dump of Untitled Pieces, a Turkish comedy in our first feature competition. you can still grab last remaining seats tonight or find a film in our program.
We're waiting for you.
But I believe this film gonna fly to many other festivals after Tallinn. Thank you
Thank
for
you so much.
visiting us in Tallinn, and good luck with world
Thank
premiere.
you. And thank you for this amazing festival. Like, this is my second day, and I'm already like feeling the spirit of a true film festival.